right, well, Brian, day before the game, how's the team looking health-wise?
We love the rain.
Love the rain?
Love the rain.
Good.
So good. They're in good spirits.
A couple players missing out there. Is that indicative of anything at all?
Nope. We are going to assess some players. Some will be game time decisions, but you know the type of injuries that we're fighting are kind of bruises, and we got to just make sure we keep the pounding off. So we're working on it. We're working on it. He's a tough kid.
Coach, the level of fitness is going to be on test this coming week for the team. So how's the team doing in that?
Level of fitness is high. That's again, I'll reiterate. You know, the Defiance game on Monday was a good test to get other guys 90 minutes, and so the health of the squad. You know, yeah, there's questions, but the next guy is now 90-minute fit to step in if he needs, and that was the plan from the beginning. So let's deal with RSL. Let's see how the result goes, and then we'll worry about Colorado and Toronto.
So, and speaking of fitness, what is this team of fitness coaches are doing different than the last season?
Well, last season, the only difference was that Damien wasn't here in the beginning because of his visa problems and stuff like that. So ever since he's been here, he has a very strict program that he has used in all of his experiences around the world, and I believe in it. It's a good program. The players believe in it. Yesterday, when you watched training, you know, the closer it gets to game time, the shorter and sharper the work was. Those 3v3 games that we had yesterday were high intensity. The players enjoyed it. Today we drop off a little bit, some tactics, some other stuff. So they're buying into it. It's working.
Some tough results against RSL last couple of years. What do you expect going into tomorrow?
It's always been a kind of a bogey team. I remember Lamar Nagel having success scoring a goal to break their like 28 game winning streak at home or something like that. They're a good squad. Traditionally a very, very tough team to play against, tough team to beat. Mike Pecky has come back and, you know, done a good job. Again, I'll reference the game against LAFC during the international break. Missing some starters, you know, international stuff, red cards. He had that team ready to play and came within 30 seconds of a wonder strike to getting a point on the road. So they'll be well prepared and they'll be ready to go.
Some reports surfaced today that Danny Leyva signed a first-team deal with the team. Any comment on that and on his development so far this year?
Well, I'll comment on Danny. Danny's a great kid, and yeah, we'd like to sign him. So when that happens, if it happens, then great. I'll be very pleased because I think throughout preseason he has shown that he can keep up. So that's all I'm going to say on the technical side stuff or the contractual stuff. That's Garth and Chris's business. From a soccer perspective, I think it would be a good deal for the club.
How would you manage a player that, you know, is that young but is very talented, but maybe you don't want to put him out there too much? How do you handle that? How do you manage it?
When he's signed, then I'll give you the answer to that question.
Sounds good.
Tactically.
Actually, because you asked it so nicely, Nico, we are going to take it nice and slow. Look, the kid is super talented. He is not going to be thrust out there in the middle of a game where he's not prepared. He is getting prepared all the time because his training with all these older guys is helping him tremendously. I look back on Christian's development when he first came, and Christian actually was, 3-4 years older. And Christian soaked up all the knowledge. He watched, he paid attention, and Danny has some of those same character traits. He watches, I see him watching all the senior players. The senior players give him little bits of information. He soaks that information up. So when we introduce him, I think he'll be ready.
I'm writing a piece on Jordan and just about his competitiveness ever since, day one. What was it like for you watching him battle last year and then be able to have such a good start to this year?
That storyline is a great storyline because Jordan has come back with a very strong mentality. It was the same with Clint when he had that injury. It's the same with all athletes after they come back from longer-term injuries. They're itching to get back out on the field. They love the sport. They love the game. and Jordan had worked extremely hard in the gym and is extremely motivated from a mental standpoint to prove that he can play and play at a high level.
From Vancouver to Real Salt Lake, do you see different tactical changes that you have to make, or the way these teams play?
Well, we're at home, and so we're going to try and emulate the tactics that we used for our first 2 home games. We're going to try and come out on the front foot, score early goals. You know, what happens in the course of the game? Do they press higher up the field? Do they transition like Vancouver? All of those things we've prepared them for. We can't say, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know exactly how the game's going to unfold, but we will be prepared for both scenarios.
You mentioned last week that Jordan had a tough time getting in behind the Whitecaps defense that really sat in. What can he do in matches like that to still have an impact where people aren't going to give him the space in behind?
Well, you guys are full of good questions today. If you watch the one play, and I forget, it was in the second half, Jordan Morris absolutely had space to run in. Christian had the ball maybe 45 yards from their goal. He played a pass at that turf, plays a little faster than our turf, and the ball rolled out of bounds. And Christian was actually a little upset that Jordan didn't try and chase the ball. But in that play, if Christian has the right weight of the pass, Jordan was half a shoulder ahead of his guy. He's in on goal, he scores. We're not talking about how Jordan Morris struggled against a team that packed it in. We're saying Jordan Morris unlocked, and that's the sport of soccer. You know, the U.S. game against Ecuador, everybody said we didn't have any impact. Well, that play where he was called off sides just barely, and he has the assist on the tap in at the far post, nobody's going to say Jordan had a tough time there. So it's a funny sport. We all kind of say, okay, he's having some challenges. It's just individual plays in certain moments dictate whether we think he had a good game or not. I think the kid is learning, because your question is good, because he is learning. It's a different kind of position for him. In 2016, we had him play more out on the left, and then he played up front solo. So it is a new position. He is learning, and we're trying to help him with all those movements.